Hello, hello, hello. Here we are, week 11, boys.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Let's
Running
go.
Routes podcast.
Let's get it.
How's everybody doing? Week 10 was wild.
Doing
What
well.
was that, like 4, 5, or 6 games by a field, one by a field goal, and 4 of them at the last second?
About that Raiders game.
Lots of
Good
fun.
football
The
games.
emotion. Let's go.
Alrighty, though. Well, here we are, week 11, Thursday night football, starting it off with a banger. You got the Cincinnati Bengals, 5-4, going into the Baltimore Ravens, who are 7-3. Baltimore's a 3.5 point favorite here. Both these teams coming off of a loss that they should have won, and we touched on, these are two teams that lost to a last-second field goal by the opposing team. Cincinnati lost to Houston 27-30. Baltimore lost to Cleveland 31-33. Both tough losses that they probably should have won. They'd love to have those games back. But here we are, Thursday night football. Which team comes out victorious? Who you think? This division rival.
Real quick to touch on it, because coming into the season was like, man, the AFC's loaded. NFC's got a couple at the top. Looking at it on paper coming in, and I was just breezing through some things with the Bengals and Ravens. They're a combined 7-0 against the NFC this year. So AFC looking strong. As it goes to these two teams, though, I personally like the Bengals. I'm not big on sweeps and stuff like that, but or actually the Ravens. What the hell am I talking about? I like the Ravens.
You like the
Um,
Ravens?
yeah, I don't know where that one came
Well,
from.
now you're picking the
I like the
sweep.
Ravens. I like the Ravens here. 6-3 when scoring first, so I think it is very important that they get off to a hot start. And as we kind of seen last week against Cleveland, you don't necessarily want Lamar to have to throw the ball to win the game for you. Still, there's still some sketchiness to that recipe. So I'd like to see the Ravens get out here fast and make Joe Burrow play the catch up mode, um, which he's capable of doing. And I think this is going to be a banger of a game. Couple injuries that is going to affect the trench work. Ronnie Stanley got banged up last week for the Ravens. Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, the two edge defenders for the Bengals, are banged up, both questionable. I think it's a good recipe for what the Ravens like to do, which is run the ball. I think you factor in that plus Lamar. And I think Zay Flowers is going to be a factor out of the slot against this Bengals defense. Plus, the Ravens are very tough at home. So I got to go Ravens here. Dropping the 3.5, I really don't like, but I think this game gets over. I think the total was set at 44 to begin the week. It's already up to 46, so there are some takers on the over already as well. I think both team gets in 20s, and but it's a good game. I don't know if I touch. How about you, Sam?
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Definitely the Ravens starting off fast. That's the biggest thing for me. They have started off fast off all year. They are the number one offense in the first quarter for the entire year. But Joe Burrow is one of them guys that can come back. He's shown that starting fat or starting slow, whether it's the beginning of the year, beginning of the game, doesn't matter. He's going to come back at the end of the year. The Bengals have gotten better every single week. I know they are averaging about 20 points a game right now. The first 3 games, they had 3 points in 2 of those games. Since then, scored almost 27 points a game. So they've really come back. They've really brought it up like they do every year, and I think they're going to continue to get better. The biggest thing for me is one, the turnover battle. When he's losing the turnover battle, that's when he's starting to struggle. He's got to not turn over the ball throughout the day, and I think he's going to continue to get better throughout the year on that one. And then on top of that, they just got to make sure that the Ravens don't get out to too big of a lead. With that being said, I think the Bengals are going to win and cover. I think that Joe Burrow at the end of the day is the better quarterback. And I think it's going to come down to a last play drive, and I think Joe Burrow is going to come out with it. Lamar Jackson has done a lot of great things this year, but I haven't seen him come out when the time is called for him to really make a play. I haven't seen him go down there and really, win a game for his team. It's either blowing their team out or they're losing. That's how I've seen it. So I'm taking the Bengals covering and winning.
No doubt. Yeah, I am as well. I'm taking Cincinnati here because, when these two teams had faced each other, the last meeting on the 17th of September, Baltimore won this game but we can all remember back to the beginning of the season.
Different team.
Is a completely different team, and Joe Burrow was not hitting. As a fact of a matter, if my memory serves me correctly, he had a calf situation coming into the season. So, those first handful of games, maybe even the first month, still dealing with that issue. Wasn't even until I'd say a month later did Burrow really start getting on pace here. But I mean, on pace as opposed to some other guys in the league, yeah, I guess. But Joe Burrow, no, I mean, he hasn't really looked like Joe Burrow this year, not even the numbers, 14 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And you could say the same thing for Chase. Chase, 69 receptions, only 821 yards, 5 touchdowns on the season. These two just need to get it together early and often in this one, and I really do. I could agree with Sam. I think this could potentially end up being a slugfest. I think it'll have to be to keep up with what the Baltimore Ravens are going to do. I'm a little scared about the defense just letting up a lot of points because I think potentially that's going to be the squad that's going to be on the field the most, simply because of how good Baltimore is running the rock here. They're running the ball very well. Cincinnati's not very well, period. I mean, they're 24th or 27th, across the board, offensively, defensively. When you check out Baltimore Ravens offensively, defensively, fourth in the league offensively and defensively. And Joe Burrow doesn't have as many passing yards as Lamar Jackson did. Who would ever think that by the second game of the season, midway through, we'd be having this conversation that Lamar Jackson has more passing yards than Joe Burrow does? No one on this squad, I'm sure. But I will take the Cincinnati Bengals here. Plus 3.5. No, I'll take Cincy here plus 3.5. And I want to take. I don't really want to do, but I'll take the over here. How about you, Bray?
I'm gonna have to side with Charlie. I like the Baltimore Ravens here. I just think this defense is built to face teams like Cincinnati Bengals. As far as you look at lowest completion percentage in the league, they're on number 4, like the least amount lowest completion percentage. You look at yards per game, they're down there too, bottom 5-6. You look at interceptions, they're one of 8 teams that have double-digit interceptions. They're a hard team to pass on. So you have to be able to run the ball to effectively beat them like Cleveland did. And now if you look at Cincinnati and their run game, it's absent. They've only ran the ball 186 times this year. That's the lowest in the league. The next person is the Jets with 198. Everybody else is in the 200s. So
that's because they can't make first downs.
They're not running the ball. They're not controlling the clock. These are the ways to beat the Ravens. And until the Bengals prove otherwise, this is a Ravens team defensively that's built to slow down this Bengals team. So no matter what that offense of the Ravens shows up with, I think it's going to be a struggle for the Bengals offense to put up points on the Ravens. So I'm going Baltimore Ravens, and I actually probably go with the under here.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals averaging just over 70 yards rushing per game, league worst. That's terrible.
Joe Mixon.
With a stud like Joe Mixon, it's got to be better. And it's putting too much pressure on Joe Burrow, and you're still probably going to be without T. Higgins again this week. So it's putting too much pressure on Jamar Chase. It's a lot to do. Now, Joe Burrow, one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. Like, I trust him, but you're putting a lot of pressure on it. But in defense of the Bengals offense, passing wise this week, Marlon Humphrey got banged up last week. He might not go. That's the Ravens' top corner. That could open some things up for Jamar to make a few more plays. You never know. Just to sprinkle that one in.
Joe Mixon, 137 touches, 536 yards, 4 touchdowns on the season. It isn't that the player personnel can't get the job done. Okay, it's just that the sets that they run, they're just not running the ball, man. They're not a system to run the ball. They're not a system. Yeah, but they're not even a system to run the ball. So,
definitely
all that money in that offensive line too over the past 2 seasons.
A lot of money.
Yeah. Definitely wanted to agree on that one. They have to get the ball running or get the run game going. They got to get the run game going very quickly, and they have not done that so far. And a lot of that is because of the touches. We've got games with 9 and 11 touches for Joe Mixon on the entire game.
I think it was week.
That's that's just not going to get it done. But I see them actually running the ball this week and getting that going early. And like I said, I mean, I just think Joe Burrow's a better quarterback. I know Lamar's been doing some awesome things this year. I know he's a unanimous MVP, all that stuff. And I know what he's done, but I see Joe Burrow as a better quarterback this week. I see them coming out on top.
I just think it's amazing that you have Joe Mixon for as long as you've had Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're just not feeding him like that. I mean, Joe Burrow's got 30 rushes for 81 yards, man. Why is this guy even running? Why is he even running?
I've got him in 2 fantasy leagues, driving me nuts.
Why is he even
It's
running?
an attitude thing when you want to run the ball, and if you look across the field, you're talking about Gus Edwards has got 500 yards rushing too, and that's been by committee all year long. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they've got multiple players, including Lamar, that are putting up, good rushing numbers. And like you noted, Eddie, with Burrow's passing being so close to Lamar's yardage wise, their offense is balanced. That's what makes, maybe lesser than, maybe the superstar quarterback, successful. Have play action, work with Lamar's legs off of play action, which is just phenomenal. And that's what they've been doing.
Absolutely. I mean, when you have somebody back there that's as talented as Lamar Jackson is, who's like 95% of the time, I mean, you guys say whatever the fuck you want. I don't care about 40-yard dash times. We all know the conspiracy behind the 40-yard dash time at the combine. It's fucking bullshit. If you think I'm lying, go watch a sprinter. Go watch the Olympics if you think I'm lying. If you don't leave off the trigger of a gun, then it ain't real. I'm sorry to tell you, Lamar Jackson is damn near the fastest guy in the field on every game that you see him play. All right, no matter who they're playing, the guy is just absolutely elite, man. And it just, you've never seen this at the quarterback position. I mean, you've even heard Michael Vick say that, Lamar is probably faster than he was. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Lamar's got the cannon that Vick had. I mean, we all remember the Vick sneaker commercial where he throws the friggin' ball out of the stadium. I mean, the guy had a cannon for sure. But I mean, Lamar's just something different.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You guys got any fantasy studs or best bets for this one?
Yeah, for sure.
What you got, Sam?
I mean, we got our obvious starters. You're going to start Lamar Jackson. You're going to start Mark Andrews, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. That's every week, no matter what. You're going to start it. It's not even a question. Joe Mixon has been in and out. Generally you're going to start him, but there are matchups where you're a little sketchy about it. Definitely like it this week. I think they're going to feed him the ball and make sure that he gets the ball on the ground and really runs productively. And then I really like the second receiver on the Bengals. Reason I say that is because we don't know about T. Higgins. T. Higgins is playing,
Sure.
like T. Higgins. If we like Boyd, if Higgins is not playing, I do like Boyd. I like them, really putting some pressure on Jamar Chase for the weekend and trying to get to that second receiver for the week. And then other than that, Gus Edwards, I mean, he's been getting every single goal line touch. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Hey,
I know y'all
Gus.
said it earlier. Every single one. He's like Jamal Williams. I know I drafted him last year in my fantasy league. He was a 6-week god for me. I mean, just every single week. So I'm playing Gus Edwards until he stops scoring touchdowns. Personally, I'm just going to keep playing him in fantasy.
That's a smart play.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Screw it.
I like Zay Flowers here. I think he goes over his total in receiving yards, but I do like the Gus Edwards thing. I like Gus for a
Yeah.
touchdown. I think that's a fair prop bet as well to take up. And then just fantasy wise, I think same thing. You look for Zay, you look for Andrews, you look for Gus. It's kind of a dart throw when you're trying to figure out, is it going to be Irwin or is it going to be Boyd? On the Cincinnati side. Mixon feels like he's due for a touchdown, and every now and then he has those explosive games where he scores a couple of times. You never really know when those are coming. But to me, those were kind of maybe the fringe flex type of plays that I feel good about this week in this matchup because, like I said, I feel like there's going to be some points in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm repeating myself again. Yeah, I mean, run the ball. We had this conversation a couple years ago with Philly. Just run the ball, and you'd be surprised when you dedicate yourself to trying to do something. What you can make of yourself trying to do it. So I can't be more specific. In please, Cincinnati, try and run the ball. Just try it. Just think about it and try it. Implement it. I mean, it's a phase of the game. You should try. I mean, you got to do special teams. Not everybody wants to do that, but you got to do special teams. So you're trying that. You might as well try to run. And yeah,
Brady, you got anything?
Gus Edwards is a solid play. Cincinnati can't beat the run. So yeah,
for me, it's tough. I'd almost say double down and I'd run with Baltimore defense. But you have to be so wary and so fearful of what Cincinnati can do offensively with those weapons. But again, like I touched on, I think this defense is built to slow them down and stop them. So if you're in a deep league, 12-man, 14-man league, and the people sitting there in the free agency are like Arizona and you're not sure about it, I think I'd ride with Baltimore.
For sure. I like it. I mean, you look at it on paper and the way the Ravens have been getting to the passer and the way the Bengals traditionally, if you're dropping back more than you're rushing, if you don't stay balanced, that could be a recipe for some turnovers. And, Sam highlighted the turnover battle and who wins that and stuff. You're playing with fire if you're letting all that speed from Baltimore come at you, and you're dropping back 30 plus times a game with Joe Burrow this Thursday.
All right, Thursday Night Football.
Just a little side note: whoever's winning at halftime is probably going to win the game because these teams are combined 11-2 when leading at halftime.
Hey, I got one more question. For everybody.
Hit it.
So I've been hearing a lot of stuff. Baltimore Ravens being a top 5 team in the NFL. Baltimore Ravens being Super Bowl contenders. Baltimore Ravens just being one of those teams. You guys think they're really a Super Bowl contender, or do you think that these guys are going to fold under pressure once they get down the stretch?
Keep it in order. Go ahead.
It's an incredible. I mean, it's a really incredible question. I mean, when you look at a lot of the teams they played all the way up until this point, I mean, they haven't really played anybody. Who'd they play? A struggling Cincinnati team. They beat Houston. Houston's live right now. I'd love to see Baltimore play Houston next week because Houston's live right now. But Cincinnati was struggling. They lost in overtime to Indianapolis. They beat a Cleveland squad that just
beat the brakes off the Lions.
I mean, they lost to Pittsburgh. I mean, you've seen that offense. Like, what the hell? You're telling me this Baltimore defense is that good? They couldn't stop that Pittsburgh defense? Come on, bro.
That was the game they had all those drop passes by the
Come on, bro. And then you beat Tennessee. Okay. I mean, they're gonna come and play. They're like the old Lions. They're gonna come and play. You beat the Detroit Lions. That was they only let that high-powered offense, that defense held them to 6. Now you're like, okay, that's the defense Brady's talking about. And then you let Arizona hang around and score 24 points. Is that the defense that Brady's talking about or no? And then you dog Seattle. Makes sense. I mean, Seattle played well and are really good against the pass, not against the run. So that lined up right. That was a nice matchup. Then all of a sudden, Cleveland, who's been riddled with injuries, and what's Deshaun Watson doing this year? They lose in that game. 33-31, divisional opponent. Remember that, folks. That's why I'm picking Cincy to win this game, because those divisional opponents. Now, let me answer the question: Are they a top 5? Are they a top 5 team? They haven't played any top 5 teams.
Yeah, I like it. That didn't answer the question though. It's a yes or no.
No.
It was a lot.
No, no, because they haven't played anybody. I mean, y'all did that to my Giants. So. Last season, they didn't play anybody. They made the playoffs playing nobody. So,
my answer,
recipe.
My answer was just based on kind of like who they're playing. They can beat a lot of the teams in the NFL, but if you put them up against a team that's going to run the clock and hold them down and force the pressure, let's say, like, I think they lose to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they lose to probably the Dallas Cowboys as well. These teams that can put a lot of pressure defensively and the teams that can control the clock. So they have the ability to beat a lot of teams. Top 5, I'd put them right at the edge at the 5.
Yeah, I'm a believer in the Ravens, but it's how they go about their business. Like I highlighted when I was talking, I think them controlling the script of the game, I don't like it if they go down 10 points. You know what I mean? Like, and got to play kind of comeback mode. But I think they're capable of beating any team in the league. I could see them beating a Kansas City team. I can see them beating, a Buffalo, a Miami, any of the teams in the AFC. I think they're beatable by a good game for the Ravens. Um, and then on the NFC side, like I highlighted, they're 4-0 already against the NFC. They've beaten the bottom middle tier teams, which you're talking about Detroit, you're talking about Seattle. They spanked both of them. I think they had a combined, 9 points between the two teams. And, so the Ravens are a legitly good team. Health is always a concern with them. So, I mean, you got to forecast that out and stuff like that. But I can see a world where they're top five. I don't know what that shakes out to be, but I think the whole NFL across the landscape, where's the matchup? When does it happen? How healthy is the team? But yeah, I think Ravens can be squarely in the top five and legitly contenders to make it there. We just haven't seen it done yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with a lot of the stuff y'all are saying. I think that they got a really good defense that's doing a lot of really good stuff. And I'm probably going to get ridiculed for this, but they're almost like the Dallas Cowboys to me, man. To be honest, at this point, they haven't proved it. They haven't proved it, and I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying they can't be a top five team. I'm not saying they can't do anything, but at this point in time, they proved as much as the Dallas Cowboys that they beat the teams that they're supposed to beat,
Right.
and they have not beaten any teams that they're supposed to actually match up equally against. So
Well said.
until I see that, I'm going to say that they're not a top five team. If I start seeing that, maybe I'll change my mind. But at this point in time, definitely not. But like y'all's takes on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're right there. I think they're like right there. I think determining whether they, win all the games they need to win and make the playoffs and get to the last game will allow me to know if they're a top five team or not. If you get to the playoffs and you keep moving forward, then I agree you're a top five team only because you're playing right now the best of the best. And you really haven't seen that with Baltimore. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault at all. But they have beaten the teams they should beat. And I'm not saying that
Well,
they
they're
can't
arguably playing
steamroll.
in probably one of the best divisions in football right now. I mean, you talk
Yeah,
about the North, all those
Best
teams are in
overall.
wild card contention right now.
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, it's just they're right there though. To be honest, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're like right. They're right there.
Well, there's
Uh,
only two teams in the past year that have shown us they can get there, which is KC and Philly. So I mean, like
it's just crazy.
it's tough to legitify something when we haven't seen it, but they
Bro,
got all the
Pittsburgh
makings of
six
it.
and three. Pittsburgh 6-3 is
Cleveland
shit.
6-3.
Oh, Cleveland 6-3.
Yep.
as well.
Yeah,
Cleveland and
and
Pittsburgh are six
Bengals are
and three.
5-4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's my point. Are those teams better than the Bengals at 5-4?
That's fucking crazy. That's just crazy how good that division is.
That's my point.
we'll find
Yeah.
out how it looks Thursday night.
Hell
Somebody's
yeah.
going to take a step in the right direction, or it's just going to be even muddier.
No doubt. No
I
doubt.
think the Browns play the Steelers this week too, so we'll see. They're going to start
Yeah,
eating
we'll
on each
touch on
other.
that.
Catch us.
All right.
Let's
Thursday night
go.
football.
Good luck, everybody. Deuces.